Yes people, what is good? I am BA, back once again with another reaction in a new mini-series. This is Chernobyl. A lot of people wanted me to react to this on the Patreon. I did two separate polls. I did one for a main series, like a larger series, and then another poll for mini-series for the Saturday, and Chernobyl won hands down. There was a close second and third, which are queued up to come right after it, but I don't want to give anything away yet. So what do I know about this show? Absolutely nothing. I've not seen a trailer, but I have a sneaking suspicion I might know how it ends. I wish I'd have known this was going to be turned into a show back in school, so I could have interrupted my history teacher mid-lecture and been like, excuse me Mrs. Clegg, spoiler alert. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting into this, so without further ado, this is episode 1 of Chernobyl. 1 hour, 23 minutes, 45 seconds. Let's check it out and see what it's saying to it. Oh, this is another co-promotion. HBO and Sky. For people that don't know, in the UK, Sky TV broadcasts most of the HBO shows through a channel called Sky Atlantic. That'll be why they're co-producing this.
The real danger is that if we hear enough lies, then we no longer recognize the truth at all.
There's several ways people can go about lying to someone as a nation, and I was reading this way back in the day. I used to be a little conspiracy theorist, and one of the ways I learned was like, say there was a UFO crash. I'm not saying there has been, now that I'm a grown-ass man. I think UFOs are man-made, but if there was a crash, is it easier to cover up that single event or create 49 bullshit ones around it so no one knows what the real story is anymore?
There were far greater criminals than him at work.
So when this guy talking says criminals, he's not talking about people directly related to the Chernobyl disaster, is he? Because obviously I know there was a horrific disaster at the nuclear power station, but I didn't know there was anything insidious to it. I always thought it was just an accident. So is he talking about other kinds of criminals?
What does matter is that to them, justice was done.
Very true. It's all about the perception of the people.
What happened after, even the good we did. All of it. Madness.
Seriously confused now. My whole life I've thought Chernobyl was just some horrible disaster. This guy's talking like there was people who were directly responsible or irresponsible, thus responsible, if you know what I mean.
I know you'll try your best.
I think he would give a more inspiring speech if he wasn't in such a dingy kitchen. As you would expect from HBO as well, it's looking incredibly period accurate to the time where the Chernobyl disaster happened. Obviously there's probably like a phone on the wall or a lamp which wasn't made in that time, which smart people will realise, but to my ignorant eyes this looks bang on the exact right look for the period it's set in. It looks like Dictaphone Man is being permanently staked out. Is it because he's recording these tapes? Also, fuck living like that. Or even thinking you're living like that. You know, there's these two schools of people. There is people in the world throughout history who have actually lived like this. Well, the cops and feds and shit. But then there's the other school of people who suffer from like paranoid schizophrenia, who genuinely believe they're living the same life as those people who did, except they're not. Both are equally as terrifying propositions for different reasons. At least in amongst all his whistleblowing, he does not forget to feed his cat. Oh shit, he hung himself! I hope he made a note somewhere to direct people to his cache of tapes in the outside wall, otherwise he's just done all that for no reason. I'm sure he did it out of guilt. I'm sure he's hanging himself because of some fucking horrible shit he can't get over when the disaster happened. But yeah, those tapes could be his legacy, and he's just like hid them somewhere and not told nobody. He's putting a lot of faith in shoddy building repairs in the future. Why is that chick wearing the wallpaper? Is that it fucking blowing up right now? I wasn't expecting us to get this episode 1. It didn't look like that big of an explosion. Is this just how it starts, maybe? That chef looked on edge, but then he was getting filmed at a Dutch angle. It must be very disorientating.
The control system tank, hydrogen. You and Toktanov, you morons, blew the tank.
No, that's not...
So it was because someone hadn't purged a hydrogen tank.
It's burning, I saw it.
You're confused. RBMK reactor cores don't explode. Akimov.
So this was a completely unheard of situation, to the point where the guy who was giving everyone great advice just does not believe that the core's in jeopardy.
Let's go. Get the hydrogen out of the generators and pump water into the core.
What about the fire?
Call the fire brigade.
Nah, this seems like a really lax response to something like that happening. Is this one of the guys that's responsible for it getting out of hand, or at least not evacuating people in time? I'm assuming that's the building which holds the core he's looking down onto.
It doesn't look right. The color.
Private says he thinks they're shining floodlights or something.
I guess the colour from some sort of radioactive or nuclear glow would be completely different to one of a file.
Go back to bed.
More terrible advice. Everyone's given terrible advice so far in Chernobyl. You can count me out of accompanying him down that Resident Evil looking corridor there.
What the fuck is this? It's 3.6 Rontgen. That's as high as it goes. The good one's locked in a safe. I don't have a key.
Are these guys in the core? I'm sorry I'm asking so many questions, by the way. Episode 1 of a new show, I do this. I do apologise. Oh my fucking god, that is gross. So wherever these guys are, the radiation is at its peak, obviously, if people are getting those kind of effects this fast.
Have you seen Hudimchuk? No. Where's Victor? Still in the pump room.
They should have been evacuated instantly. It's sad to see this. One of my friends is an engineer who works in a plant, and he tells me all the dangerous jobs he has to do. He gets paid very well, but fucking hell, some of the jobs people hold in life are legitimately life endangering. The thing that I'm finding shocking just now is the suddenness of the effects of the radiation. It is absolutely crazy how quickly they seem to all start vomiting blood and their faces change and shit. That must be the core, I'm assuming, completely destroyed, as the first guy said. So now Mustache Chef Hat, I don't know his name yet, that's his nickname for now, is at least directly responsible for all those guys dying such horrific deaths. They could have been evacuated immediately.
What does the dosimeter say?
3.6 Rontgen, but that's as high as the meter.
3.6. Not great, not terrible.
3.6, not great or terrible. It's already been established that is the highest possible thing the reader can go to. That is as terrible as it gets, you incompetent fuck. Who is this guy? How is this guy so shit at his job? When I first saw him in the opening scene, his opening sort of strategical to the point advice seemed like he was a bit of a problem solver. Only mere minutes later he unmasked his true ignorance, and from then it's been a completely downhill experience listening to this cunt talk. Terrible first choice as well. What the fuck are fire rescue people supposed to do? And I think that's the same guy who we saw in the house with his girlfriend earlier.
You taste method? Yeah, what is that? I don't know.
It's almost uncomfortable to watch just due to the fact that even if they're not killed instantaneously, what is happening to all the people in this radius right now is definitely going to kill them, you know, at some point in the future. They're just too close to it. And hearing them jokingly talk about tasting metal in the air, it's just unnerving.
I don't think there's a core.
You're mistaken. Akimov said.
Well, Akimov was fucking wrong. There has never been a more wronger guy than Akimov. These fucking injuries. Is this actually what radiation does straight away? Actually cut open your skin and cause cuts? Or are these other injuries these guys have sustained trying to escape the facility? If that's what radiation does, that is fucking shocking. I had no idea it instantly, like, cut you up like that. the bravest guys probably in the entire facility, because they know what's happened. They're going in there anyway to try and lower the reactor rods, I think it was, and I think that's to lessen the severity of what might happen. So they know they're going towards certain death essentially at this point. You ain't lowering shit into that, mate. It does just like cause cuts, because that was just out of nowhere, underneath the trousers. What the fuck? I had no idea that level of radiation caused instant lacerations and shit.
To the railroad bridge to get a better look. Not like anyone can sleep with all the sirens.
I don't think you should go. It could be dangerous.
Surely there must have been some people alive at this time who were like, you know what, this shit doesn't look right, I'm going that way. Because so far, everybody's treating it like a fireworks show. I would be like, you know that big fireball? I think we should go the other way until it gets as small of a fireball as humanly possible. Just an idea I want to throw out to the group.
Did you lower the control rods or not? Take him to the infirmary.
Oh my god. Still trying to hold some semblance of power after his shit judgment thus far. Did you lower the control rods or not to a man vomiting blood?
The water is mildly contaminated. He'll be fine, I've seen worse. Do we still have a phone line to the outside?
Oh, you're a fucking idiot, mate. I try so hard to not judge characters episode 1, but everything this dude is saying is the wrong thing to say. I think we can all agree everything he's saying is wrong.
You know, I once went 2 days without sleep. 10 women went into labour at the same time.
Alright, mate, we've all been to a house party.
They haven't brought anyone in from the fire.
What fire?
The power plant.
You would have thought they would have known already at the hospital.
Does the hospital stock iodine pills?
Iodine pills? Why would we have iodine pills?
Does that help with radiation, maybe? Is this another incompetent older male in charge character we've got at the hospital who doesn't understand how iodine pills might be beneficial if there's been a fire at a nuclear power plant?
Have you called Famin? Of course I want you to call him. If I'm up, he's up.
It's nice to have a friend like that.
Whatever the cause, the important thing is that neither you nor I...
This guy's not interested in your cover story at 2:30 AM in the morning, mate. Also, shout out to this guy for showing up to the nuclear disaster with his screech from the Saved by the Bell haircut.
3.6 Röntgen per hour.
Well, that's not great, but it's not horrifying.
Not at all.
Fucking hell, that is so frustrating to me that they are well aware that is the maximum the meter can read to, and that's now being classed as the highest level of radiation that they've read. I can only imagine what the actual reading of it is.
Have them wake up the local executive committee. There'll be orders coming down.
And I don't even class that suit that showed up as incompetent himself because of the information he's being fed by the incompetent guy. He's taking him at face value for his word and rolling with that information.
Isn't Yuri a plumber?
At the nuclear power plant.
Even a plumber at the nuclear power plant is an incredibly dangerous job. And again, this is kind of a genius scene because it's played in the traditional way of a bunch of people appreciating a beautiful setting, but the undertone of how deadly the thing they're actually witnessing is, and it's unknown to them. It creates a completely creepy scene while playing on that traditional vantage point of people on the edge of something appreciating a beautiful scenic thing. Oh look, it's starting to snow, how beautiful. Oh, it's so fucked. It's so creepy to watch people just enjoying themselves, knowing how horrific what they're actually going through is going to be. All joking aside, I've been cracking a lot of jokes throughout this episode to try and keep my spirits up, but yeah, pretty grim shit we're watching. I'm just looking at these people and continuously getting more and more infuriated with Mustache Chef's Hat guy. Was this guy a real person? Was he this incompetent and thus quite responsible for many of the lost lives at the Chernobyl site? Because if this was a real guy, what a shit legacy he left by being infuriatingly incompetent and incorrect in all his assessments. And if he'd have acted right, he could have saved all these workers' lives. What does that signify? Is it starting to rain, or is this a leak of some kind? Oh! Firefighters. That makes sense. Why the fuck would you need firefighters if it was an outdoor fire and it was raining? I don't want to keep talking about the guy when he's not on screen, but what is your process of thought to be trying to do damage control when half of your building has been leveled and multiple people have told you the core has been jeopardized? Why don't you instantly just think, right, you know what, get everyone a safe distance as we can and then we'll think about the other shit? Why would anybody in charge choose any other option than that at this point? I mean, look at it. Half the fucking thing is rubble. All he needs to do is look out his window and be like, yeah, you know what, actually, let's just get the fuck out here, guys.
Pumps are gone. The electrical's gone. The core. I didn't go in there and I won't.
This guy's clearly a smart person. I just wish they'd all understood that they should have got out of there. Or maybe these guys realise that they've already taken a lethal amount of radiation. I don't know where their minds are at.
Help us. Help you do what? Pump water into a ditch. There's nothing there.
I was quiet for a minute there because I was actually just gripped by that conversation, but I just want to say while I'm watching this, I haven't said it yet, all the actors they've cast are doing an incredible job in this. I'm so happy people recommend me good shows. I had 2 new shows this week and it's always like quite apprehensive because you're like, oh, I hope I like this, man, otherwise I'm like locked into watching something for the sake of my reactors rather than for the both of our sakes. And I'm just so happy that I continuously get recommended great shit.
They're running the safety test on the turbines. Blew the control system tank. It doesn't make sense to me either.
And that seemed to me like even the ones who had evacuated out of the staff were stood just right outside the perimeter of the building. Certainly not a safe distance away. They might as well still be inside it at that distance.
We built this shelter to withstand the nuclear attack by the Americans, so I think we'll be fine.
My one question is, when Suit and Tie Guy spoke to Mustache Chef's Hat Guy, did he go to the facility? Has he himself taken a lethal dose just by going there?
First, the accident is well under control.
And I almost feel bad for this guy. He's going to look like the most incompetent person ever thanks to the information he was given by Chef's Hat. I'm shortening it to Chef's Hat. I know they all wear them little white hats, but he specifically can be Chef's Hat. The rest deserve more than to be defined by their hat. He deserves less.
You saw men with burns. There's more radiation than they're saying.
One guy on this table actually knows what he's talking about.
What is its real name?
The Vladimir I. Lenin Nuclear Power Station.
Exactly.
I can see why they went with Chernobyl. It's a bit of a mouthful.
The passion you have for the people. For is that not the sole purpose of the apparatus of the state?
Oh my god, it's another Game of Thrones actor. This is the guy who was the Maester of Winterfell. Between watching the first episode of Rome this week and this, I'm getting all the nostalgia from my Game of Thrones actors right now.
We seal off the city. No one leaves.
This is doing such a good job of showing how poor information flowing upward can just then trickle back down from the top over everyone.
We will all be rewarded for what we do here tonight. This is our moment.
Yeah, your moment to get immortalised in history is a bunch of dunce caps. Applauding themselves as well. Oh, the pretentiousness under such horrific circumstances is infuriating.
Dosimeter from the safe, the one with 1,000 Röntgen capacity.
What was the number?
The meter burned out the second it was turned on.
Oh my fucking god.
We found another dosimeter. It only goes to 200 Röntgen, but it's better than the small ones.
And?
It maxed out.
Do we at some point in this show find out what the actual radiation level was? I have no idea what it would be under the circumstances of a reactor fail.
I walked around the exterior of Building 4. I think there's graphite on the ground in the rubble.
So he got that reading just by walking around the exterior. Holy shit.
Please tell me how an RBMK reactor core explodes.
These things must have been pretty sturdy if 90% of the people we've heard refer to this core think it's unbreakable.
I'll go up to the vent block roof. From there you can look right down into reactor building 4.
Oh, thank God, this guy's gonna die.
Guards! Guards!
If you need any more evidence of how bad it is, the dude saying everything's fine's just about to fucking die.
What?
Go to the vent block roof and report back what you see.
No.
Oh man, this is so annoying. Essentially just sending him to his death.
You'll be fine. You'll see. Come on.
They are painting these suit and tie people in such infuriating lights. I mean, the guy that gave the first one with the screech haircut all that false information should be at fault. But the fact he's just vomited blood and fainted in front of them, and now they're still giving the everything's fine approach, it makes me lose confidence in them. At first I was blaming the other guy for giving them false information. Now after them seeing that shit and hearing that report and still reacting like that, they're at fault. And if they were to believe that report, they know they're sending this guy to his death when he has to go up to the roof to check the reactor. Their plan to release water into the core, will it affect anything? I know it'll cool down the sort of heat, but other than that, what will it do? Will cooling down the heat neutralise some of the radiation, or what is their plan going to accomplish, is what I'm confused about. Fucking feel so bad for all these hard-working people trying to help, trying to do their thing. A lot of them probably knowing they are going to die. Including this guy, who if he doesn't go and check the reactor by the roof is going to get shot with a Kalashnikov, by the looks of that guard. You would just say, do I really need to check it, mate? Look at the smoke billowing upwards. I think we're good. Let's get out of here. And I guess it's one of the unwritten laws of nature. Every core explodes, from like the Earth's one to an apple, if you hurl it into the side of a Volvo. A loss of a human life is a loss of a human life. It's horrible to see Chef's Hat being this ill. That being said, out of all the people I've seen suffer throughout this episode, this has given me a slight semblance of satisfaction, just due to the fact he was so inept, he deserved to be destroyed by his own monster. Yeah, and this guy's probably 100% dead now because he went that close. This'll be the hospital getting the first group of casualties from the power plant. It's never a good day at the hospital when you see a convoy of victims arrive.
I am. Who am I speaking?
Boris Sherbina, Deputy Chairman of the Council of Ministers and Head of the Bureau for Fuel and Energy.
The guy on the phone sounds like he went into the core and started doing shots of the liquid uranium.
Control system tank. And the core?
We've ordered them to continuously pump water.
And this is the first time we have seen the same guy we saw at the very start of this episode, I believe.
Forgive me, but don't you think given the amount of radiation that it would be...
And I completely forgot, this guy at the start was literally making tapes about the incompetency of everyone involved, so I'm guessing the incompetency continues even under this new group that Gorbachev himself has assembled. And I'm assuming this is just like illustrating the fallout just slowly starting to drift from the blast site into the city and shit. People just living their day-to-day lives completely unaware that incredibly dangerous, if not deadly, doses of radiation is just starting to move past them silently. Oh man, that's fucked. That is so fucked up. Okay, and that was episode 1 of Chernobyl. 1 hour, 23 minutes and 45 seconds, and I will be back in just a minute with my thoughts on that. So, Chernobyl, what did I think of that? Holy shit, I loved this first episode. Again, this is another subject that I wish I knew more about, but I just know the essential ins and outs of it, do you know what I mean? I know it's a famous tragedy that happened at that power plant. I know about the elephant's foot photograph. And aside from that, I pretty much know nothing about the Chernobyl disaster. I don't know if all the characters in this show were real people, how many of them were fiction, how many of them were fact, if they were really this incompetent and ignorant, if they were actually all trying their best and the show's just doing this for drama's sake. I actually have so many questions regarding that side of this incident. Now, I do not like spoilers, but if you guys can give me any sort of indication in the comments if the ignorance displayed in this episode was in any way accurate without giving me any hints of any future events I have yet to see in the show, please. Now, after I finish reacting to this series, by the way, the first thing I'm going to do is actually watch a couple full-length documentaries on YouTube about the incident. I love educating myself on new subjects and I love watching documentaries and things like that. And this is something I feel like I should have known more about. I am happy to be learning more about now, and also I would like to know the factual ins and outs of it after the fact when I finish reacting to this. So I'm going to check out some documentaries when I finish this series as well. Not for the channel, just for my own personal viewing experience and education in my own free time. Don't worry, this isn't going to become a documentary reaction channel. And the main side of this episode was really showing the black and white two sides to the coin of how people handled this incident. There was the incredibly ignorant, I don't know whether you would actually call it just straight up lying for damage control purposes, or just incredible ignorance and incompetence. It's one of the two, and it's a terrible scenario when someone's either labelling you ignorant and incompetent or a fucking liar, but that is exactly what Chef's Hat was throughout this episode. It was infuriating to watch it, like genuinely infuriating. Now, in all honesty, I'm assuming that when there's a critical failure in a nuclear core like that, you're fucked anyway. Like, as soon as it happens, I'm assuming everybody in that plant would have eventually died from radiation poisoning. Obviously they died instantaneously because of how long they were forced to stay there, but I think as soon as it blew up, they were basically all marked for death, essentially. However, to see Chef's Hat not go with, like, what you would assume in a crisis to be standard safety protocol of complete evacuation, and then I'm sure they have some sort of chart of a safe range from radiation, etc., so they could have escorted everyone out to that perimeter, what they deemed safe from it. Now, I'm not saying it would have saved anyone because, like I said, they were probably already marked for death, but to see him do that would have been like, yeah man, this guy tried his best, oh it's so tragic, he was doing everything he could, but nothing he could do was good enough because of how horrific the situation was. But no, every single scene this guy was in, he was fucking shooing away the facts and just trying to say everything was fine. Literally, one of the most frustrating scenes I can remember watching was the guy telling him the meter reading was 3.6, but that the meter only went to that high, and he was like, ah, it's fine, 3.6, it's more than normal, but not a lot. And they went with that and took that number up to the suit and tie people. I'm genuinely struggling to think of a scene that absolutely frustrated me more than that. So we had all these ignorant people all the way up to the suits, and that guy that was called out of bed and went down there, not even he could take control of the situation, because at first he was fed bad information, and then even when he learned the information for himself, still maintained a reasonable level of ignorance towards the potential severity of it. And we also saw the other side of the coin, the tragedy of people knowing that they were doomed and still doing everything they could to lessen the damage, and also people who were genuinely trying to help, who were getting deadly doses of radiation unbeknownst to them, such as the firemen, etc. So there was these two camps of good people in this episode, people that knew they were doomed, still trying to do the right thing, and people that did not know they were doomed, just attempting to help. And to see both sets of people get equal doses of deadly radiation, there was just tragedy all over this episode, from the people stuck in the facility trying to release the water, to the firefighters dying outside the building. An incredibly sad episode, and it would just be so infuriatingly tragic to me if that Chef's Hat character or the other suit and tie people who took the ignorance from him and ran with it are actually based on real people. Such a horrible tragedy, but to think there was people that could have reduced the damage or actually save human lives, and they made such incorrect and or terrible decisions for the sake of lying to cover up the severity of it, or straight up ignorance. Genuinely some of the most infuriating television I can remember watching, seriously. But as you can tell, an absolutely incredible first episode, and I am completely gripped straight away by this show. It's a shame there's only 5 episodes, but I've got a feeling the remaining 4 are gonna be good. If you've liked this video, click like, subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this, ring the bell to be notified as to when they drop. If there's anything you want to talk about, comment down below, and share this around to anyone you think might appreciate it or want to watch these reactions along with us. My Patreon link is down in the description. If you become a patron, you get access to my blog, you get access to these reactions I put on YouTube a month and a half in advance, and you also get access to full-length versions of everything I react to. So consider becoming a patron, it helps me and my channel out so much, and until next time, I have been BA, peace.